The new Insta360 X4 has 8K resolution, so it's not surprising that it's more detailed than the X3. But what boggled my mind is how its video looks more three-dimensional, even compared to the 1-inch 360. I compared them side by side on a selfie stick, not just a tripod, so you can see the real-world difference the way you normally shoot. But I'll save you time. Here's a summary. X4 is much more detailed, has higher frame rates for slow motion, has much higher bit rates and lower compression, has a replaceable lens, has longer battery life, can record more than 30 minutes with no gaps, has a new in-camera stitching mode, and is easier and more convenient to use. I also compared it to the GoPro Max and Insta360 One RS 1-inch 360, and in my opinion, it beats them all. Does it have any drawbacks other than price? Yes, a few. But don't take my word for it, judge for yourself. Here are side-by-side comparisons shot in third-person view with this selfie stick, which is how I usually shoot my 360 cameras. In this shot, you can see that the X4 is significantly more detailed than the X3. That increase in detail is not surprising. But what really puzzled me is that the X4 also looks more three-dimensional. In this shot, for example, the X3 clouds look almost flat, whereas in the X4, the clouds look puffier. You can also see the wrinkles on my jacket seem more three-dimensional on the X4. The X4 also has a much higher bitrate of around 210 Mbps in H.265, which is almost double the bitrate of the X3. But as I mentioned, the X4 does have some drawbacks. One of them is that it has more color noise in low contrast areas. Here you can see in my jeans there are small patches of false colors such as magenta and green. On the other hand, with the X3, those same areas have virtually no detail. So I think this is a fair trade-off. Here's another shot that shows the X4's detail. On the X4 shot, you can see the texture on the wall, but at this distance, the wall has almost no texture on the X3. So the X4 is a clear winner over the X3 for image quality. How about the GoPro Max? The difference in detail is even more obvious. With the Max at 5.7K 30fps, you can't read the parking structure sign, while on the X4 at 8K, the sign is very easy to read. How about colors? GoPro is renowned for their color science. In that regard, the GoPro Max and X4 have similar hues, although X4 looks brighter and more saturated. In this screenshot, we see again that the X4 is a lot more detailed even when you don't zoom in. It's almost like comparing 1080p with 4K. It's that much of a difference. Now the X4 has another advantage that's not shown here. With the X4 I could use subject tracking automatically. On the GoPro Max, I had to keyframe this shot manually, which took a lot more time. Now how does the X4 compare with the 1-inch 360? The One RS 1-inch 360 was Insta360's flagship camera for prosumers just 2 years ago. Although the One RS costs $799 and has a much larger sensor, the X4 has more detail. But I was surprised that the X4 also seems to have better dynamic range, better highlight detail, and shadow detail, and overall better image quality despite having a much smaller sensor. Now you can see why I'm so excited about the X4. Until now, we've had to choose between the third-person view of a 360 camera and the image quality of an action cam. But now with the X4, it has image quality that's almost as good as a traditional action cam. But of course, action cams need more than image quality. They also need to have slow motion. The X4 has several new high frame rate modes for slow motion. Whether you want to shoot in 360 or single lens mode or even a third-person view mode, you'll be able to shoot in high frame rates while still having pretty good detail. Now besides slow motion, action cams also need durability. The X3 and other Insta360 cameras have had lens guards that are usually stick-on. The X4 has a replaceable lens guard that's twist-on and twist-off. The X4 includes plastic lens guards in the package, or you can get glass lens guards as an accessory. Now, the replaceable lenses do have a disadvantage. They have very noticeable glare. Yes, even the premium glass ones have glare. Still, the replaceable lenses are essential when shooting in rugged environments. Now, speaking of rugged environments, how's the waterproofing? It's about the same as the X3, but you'll be glad to know that the X4 has an invisible dive case accessory with no visible nadir. Now, another cool feature for action cams is GPS overlays. You can add GPS overlays to your X4 by linking it with your Apple Watch, Garmin device, Insta360 GPS remote, or your smartphone. Now, does the X4 overheat? How long can it record in 8K? Yes, the X4 can overheat. In indoor conditions without air conditioning, I was able to record in 8K for 54 minutes and 58 seconds before it stopped due to overheating. Now, if I shoot in 5.7K 30 FPS, it can record 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 2 seconds. It did not overheat, instead, it just ran out of battery. Now, speaking of long recordings, the X4 can record for over 30 minutes with no gaps, just like the Insta360 Ace Pro. Now, how's the X4's low light performance? If you shoot in 8K in dark conditions, you'll get a warning on the screen that it's too dark and you should switch to 5.7K. But I tried 8K anyway and it seems okay. It's more noisy than 5.7K, but it's also more detailed. If I switch to 5.7K in low light, then it's about the same as the X3. But the champ for low light is still the 1-inch 360. Now, we've talked about image quality a lot, but how's the X4 for convenience? The X4 has several new features to make it even easier to use. The coolest one for me is a new in-camera stitching mode for Me mode. This means you can get a stabilized third-person view that you can use straight out of the camera. No need to use your app or your desktop. Now, how's the X4 for photography? The X4 offers the same photo quality as the X3 with 360 photos up to 72 megapixels or HDR shots up to 18 megapixels. Now, one new feature is that you can now shoot time lapses at 11K compared with 8K for the X3. But I was surprised to find that the HDR photo mode of the X4 doesn't have a RAW option. I've asked Insta360 if they can add this back. So, should you buy the X4? If your focus is photography, I think the X3 is almost as good, and I would probably choose the X3 to save $100. But if your focus is video, the X3 is a clear winner over all other 360 cameras in this price range. You saw that it's not only more detailed and has better dynamic range, but also looks more three-dimensional. Besides image quality, it also has higher frame rates for slow motion and has several new features to make it even easier to use. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in 360.